in Houston, Texas, and I'm just having a chat with my friend Rod Bryant down there, and he just pointed out to me a unique tool that Native has developed on their website, nativeonline.org. And here, I'm just going to move it over and show you folks. Now, this is their webpage, nativeonline.org. And this exciting new tool I wanted to tell you about is partway down on their main page, and they've actually added an artificial intelligent chatbot called Ask Noah Chatbot. And it's got some pretty spot on instant answers. So if you have questions and you're stuck and you can't reach the rabbi or somebody that you want to ask a specific question to, you can go to this Ask Noah chatbot on nativeonline.org, and you can write in your question. And Rod is looking for some feedback to try to help them work out the glitches. But more than that, it's got a rich database, and I asked it a question that was pretty in depth, a very simple question, and yet it spit out a very, very strong answer. So I was right impressed with that. And so I wanted to point that out to you folks that are listening out there. Yeah, Ask Noah Chatbot. So for people with questions, I know often a lot of people want to just inquire at their own pace or move along at their own pace, or some people are just moving along so fast in the concepts, especially if you're not prolific in Hebrew phraseology, and some of their words just fluff out into vast concepts. And so if you've got a question you want to ask somebody, this is just an excellent avenue.
Yes.
Ask Noah chatbot, and yeah, it will spit you out an artificial intelligent generated response. That's Rod, can you tell them a little
Yeah.
bit about the source
Yeah. And to help
material?
people understand that it's not just coming from the ether, that some AI thing is inventing stuff to tell you. We actually have the large yeshiva workbook, the Noahide Mitzvah course that we had done a couple of years ago. And that course, we have it all in PDF. And so we just basically installed the PDF into this chat box system. So that means any questions that you have
Going to come out
referencing
of a
the
source material.
Noahide is
Yeah,
just coming out of a kosher source. It's not coming out of anywhere else. And the nice thing
beautiful
is we can add to those other kosher sources. So
databases.
it'll be
Beautiful.
fantastic. Yeah, it's Noahide, I'm sorry, nativeonline.org. Why don't you read real quick what you asked and show them
Okay,
how
I
detailed it was?
I asked the system to describe what is a bittul bimziut. So that was the question I asked the AI chatbot. The answer came back in a split second, and it said bittul bimziut, also known as bittul hayashush, refers to the concept of nullifying one's own will in deference to the will of Hashem. It involves recognizing that our personal desires and inclinations are secondary to fulfilling the commandments and serving the Creator. By practicing Bittul Bimziut, individuals strive to align themselves with God's will and live a life dedicated to spiritual growth and fulfillment. It emphasizes humility, selflessness, and a deep commitment to following the teachings of the Torah. So, yeah, and that answer came back in about less than 2 seconds. So I was
Right.
like, wow, that is just a phenomenal, phenomenal source. So that's the Ask Noah artificial intelligence chatbot on
On Nativ, yes.
nativeonline.org.
You
Excellent,
got to
excellent.
check it out, man. We got to pass it around. And I'm wanting to, like I said, run it through its tests. Even
Yeah,
Rabbi
well,
Ingber, to have him tell us what he thinks about it when he gets a chance. That would be
oh yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. I'm sure you'll have lots of rabbis eventually submitting material
Yeah,
for the AI to filter through. I mean,
right.
so you keep working on that. That is
Yeah.
a profound tool, and useful, especially for those that are new to the concept of B'nai Noach
Absolutely.
and want to get an answer to maybe a deep-seated question. I find in
Right.
my own personal studies, I'm reading stuff, and sometimes, like I said, those Hebrew words are huge concepts in a little word, and if you're not familiar with the phrase or the concept, you need to understand it in the context that you're maybe studying or reading. And so asking questions to an AI chatbot, make use of the tools are only as good as the people using them
Right.
often. And so I just wanted to point that out. It was good news to hear from Rod at Nativ.
Yeah.
And so that's
The nice
Nativ
thing is that we can
Online.
expand that. That's the
Yeah.
nice thing, is so we can continue to plug in other source material for the AI bot to search through. So right
Wow.
now, its only source is the whole yeshiva course that we've done on PDF. So it's like it's going to the kosher source to give you the answer. We
So it's only
started a
going to
chat
grow.
bot,
Yeah.
Rabbi,
Intelligent.
on
What's
Nativ.
that?
It's on Nativ. We have a Ask
I-
Noah chat bot
An
box.
artificial intelligent chatbot so people can ask questions. And so we had a few minutes before you arrive, Rabbi, and we're so glad to have you here today that, I thought we'd put a plug out there for that.
What is
Excellent
so I
opportunity.
understand but it's based on one document.
Yeah,
What is
it's based on the Yeshiva Perkei Shoshanim's course, the Noahide laws and mitzvah course that I did
yeah,
a couple of years ago.
right.
Massive PDF document, and we put that in there. That's the first source document. And so whenever you ask questions about anything Noahide, within a few seconds, it searches the database and boom, gives you an answer
Right.
that's
But it'll
very
be
cogent.
within that context
Right.
only.
And it's
Right.
so it's coming from a kosher source. It's not coming from some ethereal made up
And it
thing.
No,
can
I
be, and
hear,
the
I hear.
database can be added to, sure.
Yeah,
And we
I
could
just
add to that.
everything, everything in Torah. And this is, it's a funny thing because I'm recording a new album. I think I told you guys, I'm recording a new album, and the producer came in one day with this whole AI song, and like he was like, it's scary because it's so good what it could do. It could imitate anything. So I don't know, with music, I don't know. I think that what it could do is it's going to be hard to do great stuff better than AI. But what it does is it'll imitate, let's say the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, whatever band you put in, it'll take their sound. If someone comes out really with a unique sense of their own neshama, that it can do.
It can or
Right,
cannot
right.
do.
It cannot. It will
I
not be
didn't
able
think
to do
so.
that
Yeah. But
because
that's the one thing that it can't do.
and so in Torah, I think even more so, of course, but because there's a lot of sources that you could look at, and it says there's 70 dimensions to the Torah. And it is one level is 70, one level is 49, but mean that you can look at the things in many, many, many different ways, because 70 within 70 within 70. So I could take a Torah teaching and present it to you in a very, very different way than another rabbi will. And if they're both doing it properly, then they're both will be correct.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's doing it with a bias, then he won't be correct. And that's the parshas we've been up to the past few weeks. We had the story of Korach, and Korach was called an argument that was not a argument that was for the sake of heaven, meaning that that he was not getting rid of his own ego to really understand what the Torah was asking. But any Torah scholar that really is not after his ego and is understanding the truth could see it in a completely different way than the other scholar and still be within the category of true. And so, it's so like, so I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's not a good tool. I'm just saying that that I'm not worried it'll ever replace real Torah scholarship, because it can't. Because
Absolutely
the
right.
dynamic is like in music, it's less so, but it's true in music also, that there's an expression of the human component that it can imitate, but it can't originate.
Mhm.
That's what I think. I don't know enough about AI, but to me, what it's doing is, yes, it has self-learning, so it can learn what people like. But to be that spark of the soul of the individual that has their way to look at the world that nobody else does, that would be impossible. They can
Absolutely.
imitate other systems. So they'll work within the system. But I could read the text and I could show you another dimension. And that's true in Torah all the time. That's what we have. We have different levels. We have what's called the Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod. We have the basic level, I mean the hinted level, and then we have the Hamudic level, and then we have the Kabbalistic level, and they're all a building that it's happening at the same time. So I could read, and that's why when you get into the deeper levels learning Torah, you could read the same sentence you've read 1,000,000 times, and you read it in a completely different way. Now you can't make up whatever you want, but what happens is you start to see, oh, there's another level, another dimension, because in the end you're understanding God's Torah, which is infinite. So you can never get to the end. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on AI. We'll have to see. But all right, let's jump in on our topics, because there's so much. I want to hear your questions. And especially, I mean, I'll tie it to whatever you want to tie. Let's get a few questions, because there's so much what's happening in the world today. You got, and the lies are so great.
Right.
You got to really see through them. And I would love to get, if we had anybody here, any in the chats who have, let's say, differing views than us, I'd love to hear your opinion. I'd love to explain a little bit the Torah perspective. Last week I tried to explain why I think that Donald Trump was the person that the American people should support very, very vehemently. Hi Jacob. I want to just say to you, I think I shared this story with you one time before. When I first got to Israel, so what happened was there was a very leftist mayor running was the mayor of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem was becoming a religious city. But the left-wing people were really in control at that time. And now Jerusalem's a very religious city. It's mostly religious. But that time it wasn't. And what happened was there was a right-wing politician who was competing against the left-wing competition. And there was more left-wingers. The left wing was gonna beat the right wing. And what happened was the last minute, this right-wing politician, he went to the religious parties and he made a deal with them. And he said, okay, if the rabbis tell their people to vote for me, I will make you the religious people. I'll give them the assistant deputy, a deputy mayor of Jerusalem. Okay, fine. That's a deal he made. The night before the election, so he was going to lose, made a deal. So the rabbis came out the next day. And they couldn't say, go vote for this guy, because he didn't have the right position. So what'd they say? They said, everyone should vote for the person that's less against the Torah. They should vote for the one that is less. They should vote for the one that is not, because they couldn't say he was right, because it's not a question of left or right. It's a question of truth. And truth does not fit into a political party. So, though I tell you the importance of voting for Donald Trump, and I think a lot of the qualities that the man possesses, I have to explain to you, it's not that he's the king of the Jews. He's the king of Edom, of the nations of the world, and therefore he doesn't have to have the perfect traits. I think he has better traits than many others. But the reality is that, like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if you saw what happened with the bombs right now. First of all, it's amazing to me that nothing is covered in the news. everyone heard about the bombs that just landed up in the north and killed kids on a soccer field, right? You've all heard that Hezbollah thing, right? Now, what the news doesn't tell you is, so it's this is so funny. It's even like the right wing news doesn't explain it. They did not hit what they hit was a Druze community. Does everyone know what a Druze community is? The Druze are an Arabic people that live in the land of Israel and have complete rights, as do every other Arab living in the land of Israel who don't want to live under the Palestinians or under Hamas. And these guys do fight in these Israeli Defense Forces because they know they've been persecuted by their brethren Arabs. The Druze are a religion that came from Shia Islam. And these are so what happened was people don't comment on it that the people that they ended up killing with their own theoretical brothers ended up killing their own Arabs. They didn't. So we watch the news here, like, well, what's going on? Why is this why is this how did this bomb get through? What happened? And a little while ago, I was back in the States when this happened, but when Iran attacked Israel, and my kids told me they looked up in the sky and the whole sky was on fire. It was just the drone. The defense systems were knocking down all the 5,000 rockets, and then in a certain sense, and then what happens is that then President Biden took credit. Oh, we helped this, that. And in a certain sense, what it does is it conceals God's hand because God's protecting us. And I'm not saying we don't make our effort. We don't get the where we should try to get America to send over the weapons, and we should build our weapons. And I'm not saying that we don't make the physical effort, but that's not the thing that saves us. And we know that. So when I was encouraging everyone to vote for Donald Trump, which I do think it's the right thing to do, I think that it's important as a person who's an American who has to stand up and say, okay, I need to put in the most righteous leadership that I can. I might not be it's not going to be the holy, great, leaders of King David. That's not what's happening. You're not getting that. But that's what I believe you need to do. But I don't believe, from my perspective, that whoever is in charge, even if it's the people that are against Israel, God forbid, that's not going to provide the detriment or the salvation. So I want to be clear what I'm saying with that, because even though I'm encouraging you very strongly, and I will also vote for Donald Trump. And I encourage you to also do that, but it's not to believe that that is what's going to save the situation. That's the effort we need to make in our lives. We need to make the effort of what's right. God is running the show, nobody else. Okay, that's one thing I want to say. Now, I also want to ask, and I'll take your question in a second, but Donald Trump said something also that some Jews are very upset about, very upset. Right? Do you hear what Donald Trump said? It has some Jews very upset. President Trump said that he can't understand how anyone who's Jewish could vote for his opponents. And I want you to know he's 100% right. He's 100% right. And I don't know if you saw this clip, but he tried to explain, he said he discussed it with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and he said that it must be the Jews vote out of habit. They voted Democrat, which is true. The Jews always went for the downtrodden. That is a commandment in the Torah. 46 times it says you cannot persecute the stranger. Okay, you have to be very, very careful. And it says in the Bible, because you were strangers in the land of Egypt, God put it into the DNA of the Jewish people to always help the underdog, because we always help the downtrodden. So that's true. They voted for Democrat for many years. But it's very nice to say that, but that's not the real reason why some Jews vote Democrat. And I'll tell you what it is. And I hate to say it, but if you remember the story of leaving of Egypt, there were people that left with the Jewish people. These were called the Erev Rav, the mixed multitudes, and they blended in with the Jewish people. And apparently they converted, but they were the ones who said to build the golden calf. Those are the same guys. Chuck Schumer was that guy. I hate to say it, Chucky, but you're sitting there online how to make a cheeseburger. You out of your mind on the 4th of July? What kind of Jew are you? You don't represent the Jewish people. I don't know what you represent. The mixed multitudes that you represent. So it was very nice of President Trump to think that we're going to have it, but it's not that. It's every single Jew that's a Jew keeps the Torah understands. Probably 99% of the Jews that keep the Torah will vote for Donald Trump. The ones who don't are the ones who make up their own religion. That's what they're doing. That's what it is. And that's what it is. You look, the Jews who keep the Torah and understand the Torah, they're connected to God. Those who don't, they have a thirst in their soul because they're the Jewish people, and they look for a solution to help the world. And they come up with communism and Facebook and Freudian psychology, whatever ism they come up with. But that's part of the Erev Rav. That's part of the people that are outside the camp. And that's why they're doing it. And Netanyahu knows that because he's fighting the same battle here, which the right-wing news did not cover properly. That whole story about the judicial reform was a complete farce. Hollywood. Yeah, it's Hollywood. That's right. Hollywood's an abomination. It's an abomination. Was that? And these guys are right. Unfortunately, it was created by Jews who were not keeping the Torah. And they did a great job of entertainment. That's entertainment. That's a lie. It's living a falsehood because you don't want to live in the reality of the world, that the beautiful reality God gave us. So you know, but what's happening, and this is what's amazing, the great news I told you, in Israel, a lot of the left-wing Jews are waking up, and they've been doing it for years. For years. The American left-wing Jews, unfortunately, I don't know. They're just getting further and further. So, you know, I don't know. You can't go by Kamala Harris's husband. I mean, what does he have to do with being Jewish, besides for that maybe he's accidentally Jewish? You know, but it's not. So you need to really understand what's going on because they're shifting the dynamics very, very quickly. And what I wanted to say last week, and again, I want to hear your questions today, this week, but really, it's important that you understand that we do not put our trust in Netanyahu, in the IDF, in Biden, in Trump, only in Hashem. We need to make our effort, and especially as a Noahide who has to take back their country. Your country is falling apart. You got to take back your country, make your country a righteous place. That's what you have to do. Jacob, I don't know what you could do in Seoul. I don't know what's in how much rights you have in South Korea. I mean, I think you have some there. Not North Korea, thank God. But you want to make it's your country, and you have to stand up to make your country a righteous place because that's who you live amongst. Okay, that's my beginning introduction. Let me open the questions, ideas, comments, and then we're gonna try to answer some of your questions. What do you guys have? Feel free on any topic. Could be about the parishes, could be about general spirituality, could be about the political situation. Tara, please.
Okay, just a quick thing on Donald Trump. My wife and I, we believe he's doing the rectification of Esau. You know, We think that this is his, Esau's chance to redeem himself. And he's using, and that's coming through Donald Trump. But that's not my question. I have this feeling that the Messiah, the returning of the Messiah, or not the returning, sorry, the Messiah coming is totally on the Jews.
That's right.
I mean, the
That's
rest of
correct.
the nations, they don't want to hear that. It's all up to me to bring the Messiah. No, it's all on the Jews.
Right.
We're up to here to rectify, to help ourselves along. But these Jews that you've been talking about, that are lost, there's the ones that we got to get, it came out of Egypt with 20%. Do we just need 20% to get the Messiah back? I don't know, but my belief is it's all about the Jews. I mean, all the Christians, the Muslims, the Buddhists, the whoever, the Noahides of the world, you can do whatever you want to, but it's up to the Jews.
All right, beautiful. Let me respond, Tar. I appreciate what you're saying. So a few things. First of all, I do actually agree with your first thing you said about Donald Trump and Esau. I said it last week also. I said that one of the every nation is compared to a different animal. I mentioned last week. I said Babylon was the lion, and Persia was a bear, and different reasons why I compare different animals. There's one text, there's two texts that says that Esau was compared to a hog. Why? Because that animal has one of the two kosher signs. There is a kosher sign that it chews its cud. It's an internal sign, and split hooves is the second sign of a kosher animal. There are only 4 animals that have one sign and not the other. Everyone has either both or none, and there are 4 animals that have one sign and not the other. So it's the camel, and then what the other 2 are is a big discussion, but in the Hebrew it's called the shafan and the arnevet, and then the other one is the pig. So the pig is the only one that has an external sign. It has a split hoof, but does not chew its cud. And so it represents hypocrisy. And that is politics. Why they hate Donald Trump so much is because he's not a politician. He says what he has to say. Everyone else is putting their paw out and saying, look, I feel so bad about this. Like, no, you don't. You're a politician. So that's called a chazir, and that's a part of Esau. Esau pretended to be a certain way. He showed himself to be a certain aspect of goodness when he really inside was not. Okay. But there's another teaching that also says the word for pig in Hebrew is a chazir. The word chazir is the word to return. And it says that in the end of time, Esau will return. The pig will return to a kosher status of some sort. What does that mean? This world, next world. Esav. It doesn't mean all of Esav, because we know the worst part of Esav, Amalek, is not. That's Nazism. That's not coming back because someone's a Nazi, and if he has that ideology, then he cannot. He's not part of the system. He's made it against the system. But some part does come back, and therefore I do think that what you're saying has a lot of merit to it, and that's why I try to encourage people because they're making a mistake. They're trying to look at, they're making him say they're putting this microscope on Donald Trump and saying, oh, is he petty? Is he boastful? This and that. And the other politicians, they know how to talk, but their traits are not better than his. Now, the qualities that he's happening, and you see after he got shot, he changed. He really did get everything he's been through is just like when God brings us through all the challenges, the man is developing, I don't know if I'd call it humility, but he's developing a level of understanding that he is on a mission representing his people. He's going to take his toughness and use it against the enemies of America and of Israel, because he'll use it against people that are terrorists, which are a common enemy. So That's why I do agree with what you're saying. And that's why I do believe it's an important place for America right now. It really is, because I do think what Donald Trump is saying is correct. I think if Kamala Harris gets into office, I don't think America could last. And what'll happen in the greater world, I don't know. Again, it won't. Israel will rise, because in the vision of Daniel, Asa is going to fall. But what part's going to come back? Who's going to come back? Let it be America. America has offered so many great things. Not a perfect, but was the best secular government that existed. Not perfect, but working to be a more perfect union. So therefore, I do actually agree with that. And that's why I think it's so important that people understand and reclaim their country. So I do think what you're saying first is true. The second thing is that, yes, it's correct. The relationship between the Jewish people and the nations of the world and the righteous Noachides is a relationship internal, external. And the coming of the Mashiach will be dependent on the Jewish people. Okay? Now, what the nations of the world want to do is they want to go and to connect themselves to that and to assist to be part of that. Now, how will the Mashiach come? Well, there's a few different methods that the Mashiach comes. One method is all the Jews do tshuva, get their act together. What's going to happen with these assimilated Jews? Well, the truth is, it's a demographic amazing thing. Unfortunately, it's happening, is that there's a demographic problem, which is a 70% intermarriage rate in America, which means secular Jews, their grandchildren are probably not going to be Jewish. And what happens is, as it says in the prophets, God will take one person from a family and bring them back. And that was my wife. My wife's family was not observant, and people intermarried, and Hashem sent her to Jerusalem. I met her her first day in Israel, and I invited her to a concert that I was giving at the Zion Rock Cafe, which I just opened that night. And we were married 6 months later. Okay, thank God. And that was, so that's happening. So Jews are returning. I want to tell you a historical piece that I don't know, because it's funny because I can't. A lot of people are not showing me their face. A lot of people are on doing other stuff, so I don't see their faces. But I guess we get to my age and older, it's already like people that were in the 60s or the certain movements. The 60s movement, I gotta tell you, what it was about? It was the beginning of the Baal Tshuva, the returning of Jews movement. That's what it was. People don't realize that. I was at a yeshiva that was the first yeshiva people returning, because what happened was the Jewish people, every Jew until the 1800s, for thousands of years, was observant. In 1850 is when it started the Reform movement. So in the 1800s became this problem that because the Jews in Germany were trying to avert persecution, they believed that they would become more like their German neighbors, they would be accepted. And so therefore, the origin of the Reform movement, which was to reform Judaism, they believed they would have social acceptance and stop being persecuted if they acted more like their neighbors, like the non-Jewish neighbors. That's why they introduced the organ into the service. They started doing different things. And they wrote their first platform, which they abolished the keeping of the commandments. That happened in the 1800s. That means, if you think about it, that means that from the time of Moses, so for thousands of years, everyone that was Jewish was observant. Where else were you going to go? There was not like another alternative. Wherever it was gone. So if I would meet a person who's Jewish today, I would tell him that if they go back to their great grandfather, from that point until Abraham, everyone was religious. So it's a blip in history. It's 150 years. It's nothing. Abraham's 4,000 years ago. Almost 4,000 years ago. So we're talking about a blip in history. But that blip was part of the prophecy of how things were going to unfold. And this part happened. And this is one of the most frightening prophetic rabbinic statements, because we used to have prophets. We have the books of the prophets, but I don't know if you know how many prophets there were in the Jewish world, because we talk about the 42 prophets and the 7 prophetesses, but there were actually 1,200,000 Jewish prophets throughout the years. There were over 1 million Jewish prophets. Half were men, half were female. And the reason why you don't have their books, because the only prophecy that was recorded was prophecy that was meant to last for future generations. But a prophet would go to prophecy school, and he would prepare himself, and he would try to get a communication from God. But it could be about his own personal life. It could be about his family. It could be about whatever. But the prophets that were written down were the ones that were meant for all future generations. So what happened was that we lost prophecy when the temple was destroyed. Okay? At the beginning of the Second Temple period, prophecy was removed from the Jewish people. But wisdom, chachma, Torah understanding flourished, and in a certain way, it's considered to have an aspect of prophecy, and in a certain way, even greater. A wise person with Torah understanding could see the future. And there was a rabbi named the Meshech Chochmah. That was his name of a famous book that he wrote. And he wrote in the 1850s. He said there's going to be a Holocaust in Germany. In the 1850s, he writes this. He said, I was walking through Germany today, and I heard a Jew say that Berlin is their new Jerusalem. And when that happens, there's a fact that God created the world, that whenever the Jews don't understand they have a separate mission and they start to blend in the nations of the world will repulse them. It happened in Egypt, it happened in Germany, it happened in Spain, it happened every time, and America also. This is what's happening in America. Now, historically, it's a little different, because now God has already brought the redemption. It's so close. The state of Israel, I don't mean the state, but the return to Israel. Because the Talmud says the greatest sign the Mashiach is close by is one day in the future, the land of Israel will give fruit again. Right? What do you mean? I buy Jaffa oranges all the time. What are you talking about? Yeah, because you don't realize 200 years ago, that was a pipe dream. It wasn't a pipe dream for Jews, because they've been praying to Jerusalem, to God, the way of Jerusalem, for thousands of years. But that is the sign, because for thousands of years, Israel was desolate. And now the process is changing. So that's why the Jews really are starting to wake up. Jews are returning to the land of Israel. They are, and that's the second way, and the most likely way the Mashiach will happen, which is that the Jewish people start to wake up because of the fears of what's happening. They get, Iran threatening them. They get an American president, God forbid, who is anti this, anti that, and then they realize that they have no one to turn to but God, and that is a Jewish trait. The Jewish trait is that when the Jews feel the difficulties, they don't turn away from God, they turn to God. That's a second way. And the third way is a process that God is bringing about that goes through a process that is so deep and we can't understand it. Because what happens is that even if we don't merit every single Jew doing tshuva, but every single Jew wakes up to some degree. I don't know what's going to get Chucky Schumer to wake up. I don't know. Maybe they'll shoot a missile and it'll go over Israel and land by his house and he'll wake up. I don't know. I'm not wishing it on. Well, I'm wishing he wakes up because that Jew is a lost Jew. So what happens is that, but whatever's going to happen is that, and to what degree they wake up and how much they wake up and what, but the challenges that God brings over history, that itself brings the Mashiach. So, and the truth is that the Jews like Chuck Schumer and what's his name and Zuckerberg and these guys, they have very little effect. Let me tell you why they have very little effect. And this is, I'm saying it now, even though I've been sort of ragging on them for this whole session. Now I'm going to say something positive for them, which I believe to be true. And in Jewish law, we look at this in many situations. There is a status in Jewish law. This was a very common phenomenon that happened in the Jewish world, where a Jewish child would be stolen at birth and raised in the church, and he would grow up not knowing he was Jewish. That's was very common, fortunately. Even today, they have some guy in France who was a big bishop, and he was really born Jewish, and he was stolen. So, what's the status of this guy? The guy could be doing terrible sins. What's his status? There's a story, the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov, for those who know, was he was a great rabbi in the early 1800s. And he was considered to be the founder of the Hasidic movement, which is not a change in Judaism. It's just he revealed certain deep aspects of the Torah in ways that was understandable for the masses. And he had 5 students, 5 great students. And before he died, he gave them each a job. And one job was to tell over his teachings, his Torah. One had a job to say over the stories of the Baal Shem Tov. They each had a different job. Now, in the story like this, there was one time where the student of the Baal Shem Tov, whose job it was to tell over the great stories of the Baal Shem Tov, he came to a town in Italy, and he heard about a very wealthy man that was offering a tremendous amount of money for all the Baal Shem Tov stories. So the guy went there and he says, I'm the guy. I know all the Baal Shem Tov stories. That's my job. So the rich man says, okay. So tell me a story. What story you know from the Baal Shem Tov? So the student about to open his mouth, and he forgets everything. He can't remember one story. He's told hundreds of them. The rich man's like, come on, I need a story. Tell me a story. He says, I'm blank. I can't understand it. He leaves. Depressed, can't believe it. I said, I can't believe it. He leaves. He's leaving the town. As he's about to leave a town, all of a sudden one story pops into his head. He runs back to this wealthy man. And he says, I remember the story. The wealthy man says, okay, tell me the story. So he says, this is the story of the Baal Shem Tov. Story is like this. One time, there was a bishop in a town, and he used to go from town to town and get the locals angered and start pogroms to kill the Jews. That's what he did. He was a religious Christian leader, as a bishop, and he went from town to town, and he would get the masses rallied, and they would commit pogroms. So one day, the Baal Shem Tov showed up at one of his rallies. And he sent a message to the bishop that the Baal Shem Tov is here and he needs to speak with him. Now, that's crazy. This guy was the biggest Jew hater in the world. He's not going to speak to Baal Shem Tov. He's not going to see you. Just give him that message. So to give this priest this message, Baal Shem Tov wants to speak to him. And he's like, okay, all right, tell him to come meet me. comes in the room. The Baal Shem Tov looks at the priest and says, Bishop, I don't know exactly his status, says, I know who you are. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I know exactly who you are. I said, what are you talking about? I know you are a Jew. You were taken as a child and you were raised as a non-Jew, and you've been doing this. And I know your secret. I know who you deep down are. You're a Jew. You can't do this. This is wrong, and you know it. All of a sudden, this bishop turns white. And he goes, you're right. It's true. What do I do? The crowd is waiting for me. What do I do? I'm damned. I'm stuck. I've done these terrible things. The Baal Shem Tov says, you can do one thing. Do tshuva, repent, run away right now. Go incognito, disappear. And one day, you do tshuva, you try, God will forgive you. So the priest says to him, okay, I'm going to do it. But tell me one thing, how will I ever know if God forgives me? Baal Shem Tov said, you'll know because one day someone will come to you and tell you the story. And when he tells you the story, you'll know on that day you were forgiven. And as the student of Baal Shem Tov tells the rich man in Italy the story, he starts to cry. And he says, I was that priest. And I know today I was forgiven. That's a status called a child that was taken and doesn't know any better. And he has very little culpability because he doesn't know what he's doing. Zuckerberg doesn't know what he's doing. Schumer doesn't know what he's doing. It's not up to them. The Jews who are learning Torah, and you got to understand how strong it is. You know, I mean, every day, 3 times a day, we're saying Psalms for the situation. People are learning. People learn till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. It's like there are really, really holy people doing the thing. And the more that it happens, God is going to bring the redemption. And yes, I look forward to the day where the Jews that are confused and have been stolen away because of the cultural pressures and all the things that happened, and they wanted to be like the Germans and stop being persecuted, or be like the Americans, or whatever their thing is, or whatever their problem is, but they don't know, and they're like not considered. Their actions are they're culpable because everyone's responsible, but they really don't have that much significance. And God willing, when as the tide is moving to the world to see the miracles, it takes 1 second. It takes 1 second. And it says in the verse, it says that the Uval Oivmet Ashur, the ones that are lost will come back from Assyria. The land of Ashur is called Assyria, but the word Ashur means wealth, the land of wealth. Those Jews that are lost because of their wealth. Chuck Schumer, Zuckerberg, and those that are pushed out because they live in the land of Egypt. The land of Egypt is called the land of restriction, poverty, suffering. That's happened to the Jews. That's the Jewish history. One day, they're going to come back. They're going to hear the sound of the shofar blow, and it's going to wake them up. And even the Jew who's lost, even the Chuck Schumers and the Zuckerberg, one day they're going to wake up, and we should pray that day's going to come soon. And what I encourage you all is that the thing you said, Tara, is exactly correct. The Jews are going to do their part, and Hashem is going to bring the redemption one way or another. It's the challenges of our lives, it's the wake-up calls, it's the different methods that Talmud talks about, but it's soon, it's coming soon, and you're right, it is up to Jews, and when God appoints his time, it's going to happen one way or another, and it's very important that those who want to be part of this, to sign up on the right side of history. Because and that's why I encourage you to vote for the right thing, because it's your country. I'm going to vote also. I'm also an American, but it's important for you to say that my effort is, to support the ones that support Israel. And President Trump was right. The Jews that don't vote for those that oppose him are not just habit, they're very confused Jews who don't understand any longer what it is to be Jewish. They're like that bishop in the story who was lost. And one day they'll wake up too, and that day is coming soon. So I wish you all the best. I'm going to sign out, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, Rabbi. Very good. Thank you.
Rabbi, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We know it's late over there, so
Yeah, thank you
Okay.
very much, Rabbi. Much appreciated.
thank you.
Thank you all. See you
And
next
we'll
week.
see you next Sunday. Lila Tov.
Bye.
All right. Blessings. Yeah. All right, Rod, are we signing out?
Yes, sir. We're going to go ahead and sign out. So, guys,
All right. Till
Don't
next
forget,
week. Have a wonderful,
regular-
wonderful week, everybody.
yeah,
Bye for
regular
now.
schedule. Also, check out the chat box on the tivonline.org. See you guys. Shalom, shalom.
Yes, that chat room. Yeah, that at
Gotta check it out.
.org and Ask Noah chatbot. Yeah, Rod needs to get some feedback.
Right.
I did ask it one question it didn't know the answer to, and it gave me a response. I'm sorry, but the topic is not covered in the provided training data. So,
Okay. So, when you find that, send it to me so that we can try to find a way to include these things in it.
okay, will do. I'll send it to you in
Roger that.
a message shortly. All right.
Okay.
Till next week,
Shalom, shalom.
everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Take care.